Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor. We talk about movies on this show, not new movies, typically movies from the past, sometimes relatively recent, sometimes classics and stuff all the way back to the 50s and 40s and whatnot. But this week is it feels like a recent movie, but it did dawn on me whilst watching it that it's now 15 years old, which made me feel a little bit old.
No, that's fair.
Because I feel like movies from like 2000 onwards still feel like new movies to me. You know, in the grand scheme of things.
I would agree with that normally. I think this actually does feel like it's from an earlier time. Though, like maybe the mid 2000s, I'd say feels like new movies because they still feel like what I'd expect from if I went to a blockbuster today.
Okay.
Whereas this certainly feels a little bit earlier.
Still, I remember going to see this.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that it's
Well, that's
15
fair.
years old now is a bit rough. But yeah, we're going to about Spider-Man, the original Sam Raimi 2002 movie, because obviously there's a new Spider-Man movie coming out, Spider-Man Homecoming's in the not too distant future. So the plan is to do the first three Spider-Man movies, the trilogy, if you will.
Yes.
Starting with this, obviously 2 and 3, coming over the next month or so. And yeah, we're going to talk about them. And I haven't seen any of these in about a decade. Something
So
like that.
I have not seen them. I think I last watched them in the run up to Spider-Man 3. I watched them all then. I have not seen any of them since. Which it dawned on me the last time I watched these, Slott was only just taking over Spider-Man. It was only just coming on to Spider-Man. That's how long it's been.
That is the writer of the current comic books, Amazing Spider-Man, Dan Slott. Just in case you don't follow comic books enough to know what he means by slot, but yeah, so we're going to revisit these. It's been a long time since I watched them. Obviously, this was between this and X-Men, this was the start of kind of the superhero movie phase.
Yeah, I'd agree with
that. The modern movie hero. Obviously, you'd argue Iron Man with the MCU is the start of the current. The proper current movie phase, and in the sense that it's all about shared universes, whereas before that it wasn't. But it ran right into that. Like this is kind of where.
Yeah, this is kind of like the prequel to that almost.
Yeah, there was a lot. Sure, there was a lot of missteps along that way. You had your Daredevil, and your Elektra, and your Ghost Riders, and your whatever.
This is
else.
where they really started to go right. We can sell this to the public, and not just Batman and Superman. We can sell more than that.
Yeah. I don't think there was any doubts before that they could sell Spider-Man to the public. I think it was just a case of we have to wait until the effects can actually do it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's the thing with Spider-Man is you couldn't really do it until CG had gotten to a place that they could pull it off. And obviously 2002 is when they felt they could. I think I'll just give a blanket spoiler warning right now. I don't see much worth in doing a spoiler-free section for Spider-Man.
You've seen it, let's be honest.
You've seen it. If you've not, I don't know why you've clicked on a video about it.
Unless you thought this was about the new one for some reason.
Yeah, sure. Maybe you did, but we didn't get a month or so early access to it. So
nope, you are mistaken.
So we were talking about Sam Raimi's 2002 Spider-Man. So I was having a lot of interesting thoughts. I remember the last time I watched these, I felt like they were dated, even though it was 10 years ago, or close to 10 years ago. I think it might have been just maybe a year or two after.
Oh yeah, 10 years ago would have been when 3 was coming out.
Yeah, it may have been a year or two after that when I last watched them, and I remember feeling they were a bit dated then, and maybe not feeling super into them. Now, part of that may have been 3 not being as good, and obviously we'll get to that when we talk about 3. But part of it also may have been I think I saw 1 and 2 a lot. From when they came out to about that time. I feel like they were on a lot. I feel like I seen 1 and 2 just fairly regularly since they came out for about 4 or 5 years. I think I was just kind of sick of them. So watching this again now after a good almost 10-year gap of kind of forgetting details and letting it be away from me, and also just being used to what modern superhero movies are like, to sort of going back and looking at this, that at least offered me a different viewpoint on it that made it a little bit more interesting than the last time I saw it.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, last time I saw it, I liked it, but I didn't love it. I was never one of these people who thought this was the benchmark of superhero movies, which I know people who will still stand by Spider-Man 2 as the benchmark.
Hmm.
I was never as into them as that. I thought they were, enjoyable, but that was it.
To be fair though, you aren't really into Spider-Man as a character as much though, are you?
No, not particularly.
Yeah. Well, I do like Spider-Man. I'm a DC guy, but I do like Spider-Man.
It's not that I dislike Spider-Man. I just never had any attachment either.
Yeah, no, I get that. So no, funnily enough, I think this movie was my first exposure to Spider-Man. I mean, I'd heard of him, but I'd never watched a cartoon growing up like a lot of people did.
It was probably mine too.
I wasn't reading comics yet, so I'm pretty sure this was probably the first time I actually saw a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, probably.
So, no, yeah, honestly, I'm feeling relatively positive about it after watching it again. I do think it's kind of dated. It feels of its time. I think ultimately I feel like it's a fairly genuine movie. Like, it feels like, it was made by a director who wanted to make a good movie, and there's a bit of heart in it. I do think there's a lot of problems. I think there's a lot of things that does date it. I think some of the bigger problems are some of the big roles are miscast.
Yeah, definitely.
Peter and Mary Jane, I think, are both miscast, especially Peter. I think Tobey Maguire was...
I think he's awful.
I think he was a terrible choice for Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
I think he has his moments where he's fine, but it's the only time when he's fine is when the character should be mopey, because he feels mopey all the time. When he cries, it is a thing of absolute absurdity. I don't know what's going on in that face when he's crying.
No, that is a fair point. I just don't think he's a very good Spider-Man, frankly. Like, just straight up, I just don't think he's very good at it.
I don't think it's all on him though. I think
I don't think he's necessarily a bad actor. I mean, I've seen him in other stuff where I've been, it's pretty good.
But what I mean is I think the script doesn't actually give him enough. Like, he barely talks when he's in the suit.
Do you know what I noticed though? A lot of that is, I feel like they didn't know how to make him emote while in the suit, because none of it moves. None of the face moves. I don't. It's a problem I had with this, and to a lesser extent, Green Goblin. At least there they shut off the eye thing, so you could see some of his eyes and get a little bit. With Spider-Man, they had nothing. He would just stand still and say something.
I hope you're not implying you think the Green Goblin costume is better than the Spider-Man costume.
No. I just mean from a sense of to get the actor to emote. At least you can see his eyes in the Green Goblin one in the key moments. Whereas with Spider-Man, you get nothing. It is just a mask. You get no sense of anything. I don't think his body language sells anything.
Body language is a fair complaint. I don't think the mask thing is a problem. No, I don't think that stops you from making wisecracks.
No. I think it's more.
I don't remember the mask emoting in Amazing Spider-Man, and yet he was making wisecracks. Like,
I feel like they made it so the eyes moved a little bit later on, whereas here, they're just very static. So it always feels very stilted in that sense to me, like when I'm watching it.
You can still make wisecracks though. I think that's just purely a script thing. I don't think that's...
Yeah, there's a couple here and there, but I don't think they delivered with much conviction either.
It's very limited. He's not the actor for that role. Like I say, he's very mopey. He's constantly looks sad about the life that he's got. And while Peter Parker's definitely a character who's kind of, beat down upon, he's hard in his luck. It's kind of part of the character. He's always wisecracking, especially when he's Spider-Man, especially when he's got that mask on. And that is very missing from this. So I think that's a big problem with the movie. And that although it's a problem as an adaptation,
not a problem as a movie.
Yeah, I think as a movie on its own, most of it works really well. Like, in terms of everything set up for the most part, it's definitely cheesy in places. I think that's where Sam Raimi kind of falls into his own trap, where he likes the cheesy side of things. The scene that really stuck out for me is just going way over the top. It's the scene when Aunt May's in the hospital and Peter and Mary Jane are talking, and she's like, "Oh, I've got a crush on Spider-Man," and Peter's like, "Oh, he asked me about you," and he delivers this monologue about her, about feeling like you're really alive or something like that, and it was.
I'll be honest, I kind of tuned out about halfway through that monologue because it was going on for so long. I was like, I can't take this.
It was not a believable thing that you would have said to someone else about someone. It's just far too long. It was a super long, cheesy monologue.
Exactly.
And that was pretty cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Also, here's the dated element that stuck out to me, and this was a plot dated element. Is so Peter's motivation for going to the wrestling, because he goes to where he goes, he's got this like crappy version of the suit, and he goes and fights Macho Man Randy Savage, named Bonesaw in this movie. Bonesaw is ready. Classic, right? That's part of the movie will never age. No, that's part of the movie will never age, because Macho Man's being Macho Man and it's glory. And Bruce Campbell is the ring announcer. Come on.
Okay, sure, I can't argue with that.
Come on, this is the movie's excelling at this point. But his motivation for going there is that he wants to earn money so he can buy a car to impress Mary Jane, because Flash has a car.
This feels straight out of the 80s, doesn't it?
It does. That up until this point, I was actually like, watch it. It was fine. Like I thought the the introduction to the Green Goblin was a bit rushed. Like we have one scene where it's like, oh, we're going to pull your contract. Very next scene, oh, inject it into me. I'm a monster. Like that was super rushed. But
that's something that I thought in general, which I think is a product of its time. Whereas now we think of an origin story. He gets the powers. He gets bitten by that spider 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Which I don't have a problem with. I actually think the pacing of him getting his powers is fine. It's just the villain side that I think's
I'm not putting that as a problem. It was just something I noticed again of its time, where now, that's 40 minutes till you get to that point easy.
This car thing. See when it got to that montage of him looking through the the newspaper looking for the ads and whatnot and the classifieds.
Yeah, and he looked at some real nice cars first, though, way out of his price range.
And I was just like, is this why he's doing this? Is this really how the movie like propels forward? It was just a really weird reason. And a lot of the stuff he interacts with her is really kind of stilted as well. Like he's been this nerdy kid, and she's the pretty girl who kind of pays attention to him, but isn't really. But he's been really obvious with his staring at her, and she never notices. It's really weird, and kind of
I agree with that.
Turned up to 11. But it didn't bother me too much because again, Sam Raimi likes his cheesiness stuff, and it kind of worked into that. Up until the car thing, it was mostly playing quite well for me. Like nothing was. It felt a little bit old school, like, the Green Goblin stuff, especially for like a movie, like it felt like a villain that may have been in a Tim Burton Batman movie. Which, speaking of, I do want to point out one of my complaints, and this is one that's going to be controversial. A lot of people will disagree with me on this. I do not think Danny Elfman is appropriate to score a Spider-Man movie.
I agree. It's actually probably the thing I hate most about this movie, and what really hampered my enjoyment for a lot of it is the music.
The music, do you know what it is? Because they did the same thing back in the 90s when they did the Flash TV show. They got Danny Elfman to do the opening music. I don't know if you've heard this.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about that. I feel like I get why you got him to do Batman, right? He's got this sort of dark twist to him.
Joe, I think Danny Elfman works amazingly in all of Tim Burton's movies that he's done. Like, I think he suits that style perfectly. But that's it. I've never seen any of his work outside of a Tim Burton thing where I've gone, yeah, that was good.
He did Men in Black. I thought he suited that. That kind of worked.
Yeah, I mean, I still have some problems with that.
Well, because it's got this upbeat darkness to it, and I feel like that fits Men in Black.
It's more the orchestration that I have a problem with, honestly.
He does this thing where I feel like he. I don't know what it is, but there's a certain type of like brass that I associate with Danny Elfman, and you being a musical person probably know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're on about here. Yeah.
But there's a certain sound of brass that I just associate with him, and as soon as I hear it, I stop thinking about what I'm actually hearing and just go, "That's Danny Elfman," and I don't think about anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
I kind of felt that during this, and obviously this is a thing that's a problem in all three of them because he was there for all of it.
I think it was really bad. I think it's so overblown and over the top, and it's so blaring in your face, Danny Elfman at all times, and it just never gives me a moment's peace. There's like, there's a moment. There's maybe two moments where I was like, oh, silence. One of them's when I think he's running across the rooftops and he stops suddenly and the music cuts out. I'm like, finally. And the other, that was early on.
Is this just before he swings for the first time? It is. Testing his web, yeah.
Yeah. The other one is actually during the fight with the Green Goblin. The first, good chunk of that fight is in silence. I'm like, this is really refreshing.
Now, I swear I'm going to get to positives. There's stuff I like about this movie, and I think it's a pretty decent movie overall. But I do want to, like, there was things I was noticing negative-wise. This isn't something that I'd forgotten about, admittedly. But that Green Goblin outfit, we have to talk about this.
We do.
Especially since it wasn't that long ago, it was a few months ago, I think, I saw some concept art that they had it for the movie of different designs for the Green Goblin, and they were more horrific and kind of like scary looking, and they looked cool. They looked badass, right? And I don't know what possessed Sam Raimi and co. to then go, no, we want the one that looks like a Power Rangers villain.
They wanted to make it more family friendly because it was 2002 and they wanted to sell it to kids.
That's the thing though, kids love dark shit.
They do, but studio execs don't think like that. Studio execs think that kids don't like dark shit.
Well, they do now. I feel like.
I mean, alright, they do now, but they didn't in 2002.
Hell, when I was a kid, I wanted to watch RoboCop and Terminator.
I'm not disputing that. I'm saying studio execs did not think that at the time.
Sure, but it looks like shit. The Green Goblin costume looks like absolute shit. It is this cheap-looking plastic. And this is the thing, actually. I think the CG for Spider-Man mostly holds up really well. It's the CG for Green Goblin flying around that I think looks atrocious.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that.
I'm not saying Spider-Man always looks perfect, but it's always fine.
Serviceable.
Yeah, it's always serviceable.
Yeah. There's never a point where like, ooh, that's bad.
Yeah, sometimes genuinely pretty good still, even for its age.
Yeah.
But Green Goblin, when he flies into that parade, it's like, oh, that's a CG effect from the early 2000s if I ever saw one.
Actually, that does remind me, there was one moment with Spider-Man that I thought looked pretty bad. It was when he was jumping on the balloons.
Alright, okay.
I didn't like that. I thought that was pretty rough. But, you know, one little bit out of the whole movie.
Yeah. He's done a lot of it, to be fair. There's a lot of swinging going on, especially in the second half when he's actually full on in suit. I would say that's another thing. I do wish we got his first, like, the first time he put on the proper suit and went out and stopped a crime. I kind of wish we got that in its whole before the montage.
Yeah.
Because he makes a decision. He makes a decision after the graduation, and he talks to Aunt May. That he decides, great power, great responsibility. I'm going to do this for my uncle. Blah 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 blah. And it cuts to this montage of him like doing all these, solving all these crimes. And it's like, I kind of wish we got the first night out, where he struggled and didn't know what to do exactly, and
yeah,
it made it more of this is something that was more difficult. It felt just super easy that there was suddenly a montage of him going around like stopping a bunch of people.
I don't get how he got such a professional suit all of a sudden. Like, because we see him do the drawing first, and then he goes to the wrestling. Like, we've seen the drawing, we know what it's supposed to look like, and then he walks out at the wrestling. You're like, that is homemade shite.
It's a jumper and a balaclava.
Exactly, but then this professional-looking one just shows up. Like, he does another drawing, and then he's got it. Like, I don't get it.
You just imagine time's passed a bit, and he's put effort into getting it.
I feel like we should have had a sewing montage.
Well, Amazing Spider-Man has that, so you're getting that in the reboot.
That's why I think that's a better movie.
we know where the suit came from. It's a better movie. We'll talk about that.
We'll get there in a year or two, whenever the next one is.
Yeah, we're saving Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 for when the sequel to Homecoming comes out, because there's going to be one. So
exactly. I guess we could do it if we get one of those other Spider-Man villain movies that are probably never actually going to happen. The ones they keep going, they're coming, we promise, they're happening.
Well, they announced that new one this week, Black Cat and Silver Sable.
Yeah, I don't believe it's going to happen, though.
Sony sounds... They're determined to pump out some of these villain movies that no one wants.
They're determined to, but I think there's going to be a point where they're just like, nah, screw it, just pull the plug. Alright,
what was I saying? Okay, so I was mentioning the CG for Goblin, the suit. Yeah, suit's really bad.
Yeah.
And obviously I think Goblin lacks the bite that he's supposed to. He's a bit just kind of cartoony, which kind of goes with the suit, I guess. But positive things though, as much as I complained about Tobey Maguire, and I think Kirsten Dunst is, again, she doesn't feel like Mary Jane. She doesn't feel like she's got the same fire that Mary Jane has.
She doesn't, but at the same time, she doesn't really get to do anything. So I don't know how much I hold that to the casting and how much I just hold that to no one gave her anything to do at any point in the movie.
Well, I mean, she's in the movie a lot, but she's just kind of there to be the
name,
love
name
interest.
one thing she actually does that she does, not that just revolves around her.
Oh, she walks into an alleyway and almost gets murdered / mugged / raped, or whatever they were planning on doing. It's very unclear. It's just a bunch of guys.
Yeah, but again, it's not really something she does. She went for a walk.
Sure. She does have a lot of screen time though. Like
She has a lot. That's it. She has a lot of screen time, but she doesn't do anything other than serve other plots. I don't get it. She's just a non-character for me.
To be fair, I mean, you could say something about Franco's character.
And I probably will say the same about that. I feel like it's when they have that much screen time and they're supposed to be this, they're like the secondary character of this movie. And I don't get anything about who she is as a character other than, oh, Peter likes her. Oh, everyone likes her. But she doesn't do anything to tell me why anyone likes her.
Honestly, I don't even need her to do anything. I just need her to have more of a personality. Because,
yeah.
Like at one point she actually says Tiger. She calls him Tiger.
Yes.
And it had like no weight to it whatsoever. Not that it should have weight. Maybe weight's the wrong word, but it has no charisma behind it. It's just like a casual. I'll see you later, Tiger. She walks off.
It's not like oh she said it moment.
Yeah.
It's more of a oh she said it. Is that it?
Yeah, the reason why it's such a big moment in the comics, like a famous moment in the comics when she comes out, face it, Tiger, you've hit the jackpot. Because it's her being kind of feisty, so she's got she's got a perkiness to her, which in this is again she's kind of mopey. She comes from this broken household with her stepdad's always shouting and she's
and then she's run down because she's a waitress instead of an actress and.
Yeah, it's a really depressing movie now. I'm thinking everyone's depressed.
Yeah, as cheesy as it is, it's. I mean, I guess that's Spider-Man, really, isn't it? Everything's shit, but it seems happy.
Aye, but Mary Jane usually fares better.
Yeah, that's true.
But why did we even get into this? I was going to talk about positives, and then you dragged me into Mary Jane. Willem Dafoe is great. He is cheesy, he is chewing the scenery, but he's fantastic.
I will agree with that.
He is hamming it up wonderfully. It's great. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, fantastic, perfect
casting. Some of the best casting ever.
Yeah, he's only got like 3 scenes, admittedly, when you actually really notice it. But
it was when he first came into it, was like an hour into the movie. I was like,
which makes sense, given
it does. But I was like, just from memory. Obviously, again, it's been a decade, but from memory, it seemed bigger in this movie.
It's actually a little bit weird watching again. How like the high school phase is over by half an hour into it. Like they graduate and the high school's done.
Yeah.
Because I always think of as Peter as being high school for a long time.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
As Spider-Man, as part of the story and not just like the start, the setup. So that's a little bit weird, but I guess you've got your actors who are all in their 20s and you don't want to pretend they're in high school for that long, so I guess that's the logic.
I just feel like if you're going to be in high school for the movie, like half an hour or 2 hours, at that point, I've got to buy into that age regardless.
Yeah, but so yeah, I think that is actually kind of the thing, because the movie starts with him saying, "Oh, it starts with a girl." As with any good story worth telling, it starts with a girl. And the movie does kind of revolve around him having the hots for Mary Jane, and then Harry having the hots for Mary Jane, and then the villain using the fact that he has the hots for Mary Jane to manipulate him and give him a
usual villain stuff.
Give him a standoff at the end where he has to choose between Mary Jane and a bunch of kids. That's the thing. I will say the moment where New York rises up and like helps him fight falls a bit flat for me. It works much better in 2. The one in 2 is a much better example of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. It kind of feels at this point he's still too new to have earned it.
Yeah.
At this point, because that's the thing. It doesn't even feel like they're going, "Hey, that's Spider-Man. We've got to help him." It's like, "Hey, there's a bunch of kids there. We should probably do something."
Because the guy even shouts, "You're going to a guy who's trying to help a bunch of kids."
Yeah. It's not about standing up for Spider-Man here. It's about, oh, hang on, there's some kids. We should probably do something. That's it. Which obviously is should be a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't feel like it has the personal connection to Spider-Man like you want in the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of. Again, this is part of where, because I was actually saying that this feels like a transitional movie. There's a lot of this movie that feels like it's part of a modern blockbuster, and there's a lot of things that feel like from the era before, from like 90s movies.
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I feel is in this is where it feels like the whole idea they have to have the villain that's killed by the end feels very 90s. Admittedly, a lot of Marvel movies are still doing that, but they've got so much shared universe stuff going on that it still feels like it's building stuff up. Now, I know obviously Harry's left behind. Actually, that's one of my big problems, is I don't buy a lot of Harry's character. Because for the first half of the movie, he's just a good friend to Peter. And then it's a bit awkward because he's dating the girl that he knew Peter liked, but whatever. There's that
bit of a dick move on his part, really.
Bit of a dick move, absolutely. But, whatever, right? Norman comes over for Thanksgiving, and there's that whole thing where they all hear him outside, and he like insults her and says, "Oh, she's just a gold digger.
Yeah.
Use her and leave her. Yeah, that's what you should do, son." And Harry tries to like stick up for her for like about a second, and then just sort of awkwardly leaves it and comes back in. And Mary Jane's pissed that he didn't defend her. And then instead of apologising and saying that, his father makes him feel insecure, he has trouble, sticking up for himself, never mind anyone else, he then gets angry and says, "Oh, I'll be lucky if I'm half the man he is, bitch." Basically, I mean, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, but that's the show of it.
It's like a light switch. He just flips into this more maniacal version of himself, and it comes out of nowhere for me.
I agree with that. Yeah, it was really weird because, like you say, he's kind of seemed like this normal kid for so long, and it's like he seems like he has daddy issues.
Yeah.
Even in that scene, and then it's like he just flips to defend him.
And here's one of the things that I think the movie could really have worked on a bit. Is I said how the Green Goblin stuff was a bit rushed to set up for it. I think the whole idea that Norman's actually a good person before this happens would have been a lot more effective had we actually got more time with him before he changed.
No, I agree with that, and that to play that into what we were just saying about Harry as well. We don't really see any of their relationship really. I don't get why Harry decides to stick up for him and defend him, because he's kind of seemed very dismissive of his father up to that point. Because his dad's he clearly is a good person, like you say. He's kind of distant because Harry's not gifted at science and stuff.
Again, I think that's like mostly speculation, though.
Well, yeah, that's the implications there, but we don't see any of it. That's the problem.
No, I mean, you only get it because you see Harry looking jealous that he's interested in Peter and what he's up to, but it doesn't really prove that he's dismissive of him. It's just because we only see him when Peter's there anyway.
Yeah, I guess just in the sense of when they pull up in the car and he's like, "Look, you've got to stop flunking out of schools," and and Harry's he's kind of the rebellious teenager. So in that sense, he feels like they're at odds.
But see the thing though, in that scene, I never, because sometimes in those scenes you feel like the parent's being a dick and you side with a teenager. In that scene, I never really did. Like in that, it felt more like he's being a reasonable man. Like, that's what it felt like to me.
That's true.
And yeah, he tries to be nice to his friends. I mean, that stuff with Mary Jane is the first time he's a proper dick, I think. Just to someone regular. And by that point, you can. Well, it's probably just because he's infected with Green Goblin venom, and he's like talking to himself at night and whatever else.
Yeah. It really doesn't do enough to show you that he is a good person. It makes this descent into madness that it should be kind of doesn't really have any weight, does it? Because it's just like, okay, he's insane. Here's
an interesting scene actually. So the scene I mentioned earlier on, where Mary Jane walks into an alleyway and like gets mugged / almost murdered. And Spider-Man, because Peter was talking to her and he sees it, he runs in. First of all, I thought this scene was insanely random. Watching it again, I was like, oh yeah, this just randomly happens after she's seen him.
Very convenient, isn't it?
It just feels, very coincidental that this just happens. Just so we can have the fight scene in the rain, which admittedly will look pretty good. Yeah. And then the upside down kiss, which obviously is the one big thing that everyone won Best Kiss at the MTV Movie Awards. I hate myself for remembering that, but it did.
Sorry.
You get a proper awards show when you get best. You don't have a Best Director award, but you've got Best Kiss. Your priorities are in the right place.
I'm not sure I can take anything you say seriously anymore because you remember that.
Of course it won. What else could have won? You've got an upside down kiss with Spider-Man.
It's kind of a dick move on her part, though, isn't it? She just cheated on her boyfriend. Like, and the worst part is.
And you said she didn't do anything all movie.
Okay. She does something that should make me not like her. But Peter's there going. He knows that she's cheating on her as well. Like, he's very aware of this, and he's encouraging it.
Aye, but he's the one he wants her though. So he's...
Yeah, but it stops. You know, he's supposed to be a hero. He's supposed to be the good guy. Not supposed to encourage this.
Well, that was. Well, actually, one more thing on this scene is this scene very. And this isn't really a complaint so much as just a kind of a thing that I noticed, because I don't really feel this much anymore in blockbuster movies. This is something you used to always get in movies from the 90s, and certainly movies going further back. This scene was clearly shot on a backlot, on a fake alleyway,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You could tell the entire time. It just had that feeling to it, and it really stood out to me. I don't really judge it. It's like fine. Like, I just kind of accept it that sometimes they do that in old movies, but you never see that now. Like, you don't watch Captain America: Civil War and feel like, oh, they're in a fake street right now. You never feel that anymore. They just don't do it.
No, I feel like, again, it's not something I judge it for, because that's just how things were done.
Yeah.
So, why would I complain? But I think now it's to a point where it got so normal to use real locations that people won't. They're scared people won't accept backlots anymore.
Aye, we'll notice it.
Yeah. So they can't get away with it anymore, maybe.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I said. What I meant earlier when I said this was a transitional film. There's these holdovers from the previous era, but it's not. But there's some things that do feel like there's the start of the Marvel universe kind of creeping in, and like like the mediocre villain, for example, feels like a Marvel movie.
It's a staple, isn't it?
Yeah. So, oh god, I've been dancing around in all my thoughts. Here's a weird, not even a complaint per se, but a observation. Peter turns down food 4 times in this movie.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? It's kind of weird. What teenage boy turns down food?
And the first time you think nothing of it, because he comes back and he's just been bit by the spider, and he's sick.
Actively ill at this point. And you go, okay, fair enough. If you're ill, you don't want to eat.
In the morning, he does it again when he's leaving for school, and then again when he comes back after the funeral, I think it is, or no, graduation is, and Aunt May's all, can I fix you something? And he's like, nah, I'm fine. I'm like, God, Peter, if you turn down food one more time, I'm not going to be happy.
I know, it's food that you're not paying for. And it's literally being given to you on a plate. You don't have to do anything. This is like the peak of free food. Never turn that down.
It's just an observation more than a criticism. But it's
a criticism in the sense that it's unbelievable that a man of that age would turn down that much free food.
So that's a thing. No, I do think, as much as I've pointed out a lot of things that don't work, and I've pointed out a lot of weird choice, a lot of it is adaptation stuff, and some of it isn't. Some of it is, character motivations could have made a bit more sense and things like that. I don't think it's a bad movie though. I actually think it's a fairly well put together. Forgetting it's an adaptation of something, which is kind of hard when it's Spider-Man, but characters are a little bit different. Right, and that's maybe something again that feels like it's of the older era. It feels like a 90s superhero movie where, okay, they've got the suit, they've got the powers,
but the rest of it's not the same.
But the characters don't feel quite right.
Yeah,
and it kind of has that feeling to it throughout. I was really getting that sense, even down to the fact that the final confrontation was kind of one of the weakest fight scenes.
It was.
Which also feels like a staple of these older superhero movies. I always feel like the final fight's not that interesting in these old movies, because they tend to have their big set piece, in this case it was probably the fair, maybe the burning building, you had a couple of these things.
It's usually 2/3 through, and then the final piece is the moral choice rather than the action.
Which actually, that's one of the weird things about this one, is that, so guy shoots his uncle, it's Peter's fault, so they do the whole, great power, great responsibility, Uncle Ben dies, he chases after him, right? And he goes after him with revenge in mind. And he gets to him, he beats him up, and then he sees who it is. It's the guy he let go past at the wrestling event. And he just kind of happens to trip and falls out a window and dies. And it's this weird moment for me, because Peter never actually gets to have them, like, does he decide if he's going to be a killer or not? Because it feels like he's going to, and you're like, okay, maybe this is where he decides no, he doesn't want to be that, or something to that effect. He's just lucky that the guy happens to fall out of a window and dies.
Yeah, no, you're right. Also, other problem I have with this scene. So, the spotlight's on them at the window where he falls out the window, follows the body down, and they bring the spotlight back up onto him, and they're like, hey, stay there, freeze. Now, and then we cut to all the cops running in the building, and they get up there, and he's gone. It's like, and they're all like, where is he? Why doesn't the guy on the spotlight just shout, oh, he went that way out the window? Like, why are they confused?
I don't know.
They had a spotlight trained on him. It's not like he could have Batmaned out of it.
I do not have an... Maybe he retreated into the building first, and went out another window where he couldn't see him.
Maybe.
Or maybe he did just go out the window, but he went so fast that he was already buildings away by the time the cops got to the window.
I mean, that would be fair, but I still feel like that just answer this. Don't have them be so confused. Go, no, he went that way, but we ain't getting him.
I'm not super fussed about this moment. Here's something I really liked, actually. I liked that when the Goblin shows up at the Bugle, and he grabs Jonah Jameson. I love that. Like, because he's like J. Jonah Jameson, as he's supposed to be. He's a dick who hates Spider-Man, and he's telling Peter, like, "Nah, you're not on a job. I'll pay for this. The crap." We've had this attitude. He's great, right? But when Goblin like has him by the neck and says, "Who sends the pictures of Spider-Man?" Even though like Peter was standing right there, he lies and says, "I don't know. He sends them in." Like, it's a really simple little thing, but it's almost like much better than the set up Peter or Harry. It's like, no, in one line of dialogue, they just made me care about him because he's trying to protect the kid that he's been acting like he hates and doesn't care about, but he's putting his neck on the line to protect him.
Yeah, he's kind of heroic, isn't he?
Yeah, and in that second, you in one line of dialogue, you get him. And
yeah, he's a dick, and he'll scrounge about when it comes to getting the best deal in terms of money. Because obviously, he's kind of a businessman in that sense, where he doesn't want to pay more than he has to. He'll do exactly bottom line as best as he can get, but he's not actually going to put a kid's life in danger. Yeah. As much as he would have you think that he would.
Yeah. So no, I really like that. That moment really stood out to me. He's really quite smart. Goblin in his ridiculous costume, notwithstanding.
I agree with that. It really takes you out of the whole film every time you see him, doesn't it?
No, I think you probably remembered the Superman joke. You're not Superman, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice there was 3 DC references in this movie? Did you remember them all?
I don't remember them all, no.
Well, the other obvious one that's...
the ripping the shirt open.
I wasn't even counting that. Obviously, that's a reference to Superman the movie, but I was just thinking actual DC characters specifically. So you've got You're Not Superman, You've got Shazam when he's trying to get the web to work.
That one. Yeah.
And this is a more subtle one, but he's got a Wonder Woman poster in his room at the start.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's it's out of focus, but you could tell what it was. And I noticed it. I was like, oh, it's kind of weird. They filled this movie with DC references, given it's a Marvel movie.
I remember the Shazam one. Now you've said it. I remember, thinking that at the time as I watched it last night. I was like, oh yeah. But the Wonder Woman poster I did not catch.
Yeah, admittedly, it could have been like a Justice League poster, but the bit I saw of it was Wonder Woman. So I thought that was. I just thought it was interesting that there's so many DC references. It's almost like Sam Raimi's a fan of DC, and he was like, "Oh."
It's almost like whoever's writing the script or doing these things. Maybe that doesn't really explain the Wonder Woman one, but the others, it's like, they weren't really aware that Marvel and DC were that different. They didn't really realize Spider-Man wasn't from the same one as all of these.
Yeah, actually, I remember when I went to see Batman v Superman. I remember I was in a taxi on the way home, and the driver was asking about what I saw, and I was like, "Oh, Batman v Superman." He's like, "Is Spider-Man in it?" No, he was not.
Kind of thought we were past that these days.
You would think. But
I mean, I could understand. When this movie came out, I can buy it. But now, when they're literally half the blockbusters in any given
Do
year.
you know what it is though?
Superhero
No,
movies.
do you know what it is? I think for a lot of general public who don't follow comic books, don't understand DC Marvel, I think it's kind of like back when, like, for a time, like, you know, the older people would all call any games console Nintendo or a PlayStation, depending on what era it was. I think it's kind of like that. I think they all just think it's all Marvel.
Okay, yeah.
It's a comic book movie, it's Marvel.
I think the plot is very simple, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's gets powers, learns to use powers, gets Uncle Ben killed, has his revenge-ish moment, but he was robbed of it.
Goblin's pissed that his company's been taken over, so he kills the people who are going to take his company away from him. First it's the contractor who's going to, you know, give the contract elsewhere. Then it's the rest of the board because they want to sell the company. And then he runs into Spider-Man and he's like, oh, maybe he could join us. And he asks him to join him. And you know what annoyed me about that is at the bugle he knocks him out with some sleeping gas. And they wake up on a roof and he makes him his offer and pisses off until later. Fine. But he does it so easily where he just knocks him out with sleeping gas. I'm like,
why not do it again?
Yeah, why not just do that later when you actually want him to go down?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I can defend it. Whereas this final confrontation, he never wants it to be a battle. He just wants he wants to force him to make the choice, and wants to try and break him on an emotional level.
Oh, true. But once the actual fighting, once they're actually like in hand-to-hand combat, and because that was a weird thing actually as well, is that you never really got the sense that Willem Dafoe's, you know, Norman Osborn could do flips and stuff. But in that final fight, when they're like punching bricks at each other, he's doing flips and he's doing proper like, you know, over the top movie fighting, and it took me out of it a little bit because I'm like, I don't really feel like he could do that.
No, I agree with that.
You know,
you're right.
Because he's more of he's kind of a Tony Stark in the sense that he's got a suit and a glider thing. He's got technology that makes him what he is.
Yeah, but we're supposed to believe he's enhanced by this serum. But they never really show it off, do they?
Not really, no.
I mean, I assume it works because moments like this, but they don't really go into it.
Nah, all the effects that we get are the mental effects where it turns him evil, basically. That's because they even mentioned that in the scene. The one side effects that might happen is rage and insanity. So you get the sense that's what it's doing to him, but you never get a sense of any of the other powers. Actually, I want to point out when he goes to kill the contractors, because they're like viewing another company's like new device,
Iron Man suit.
Yeah, but it was this. I want to talk about the design of this thing. It was like it was almost like a little sci-fi shuttle. It was like a little spaceship you might see in the Jetsons, but standing upright with a person inside it.
Do you know what it kind of reminded me of? You know the power armor in Fallout, but stick a rocket on the back of it.
I can see it.
So that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Okay.
It was weird. It was very bulky.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh dear. So Mary Jane decides by the end of the movie that it's actually Peter she likes. So at Harry's funeral, Norman's funeral. I keep mixing up Harry and Norman's names. At Norman's funeral, you know, she's like, "Oh, I love you, Peter." And I'm like, "Okay, bit quick. Maybe just ask him out for, you know, some ice cream or something.
Go get a coffee."
Yeah. And he, of course, you know, he's going to do the whole hero thing. He's like, oh, everyone close to me is going to get hurt, so I have to be, nah, we're just friends. But she kisses him and she recognises the kiss. She's like, well, she doesn't know for sure at the start of the next movie, so she doesn't really know, but she questions it. She's like, that was kind of familiar.
Yeah.
It's almost like I've kissed him before. That's odd. Very odd. But he gives his little speech, and we have our final little montage of him swinging around the city, and, you know, ending with the American flag behind him, all patriotic, and boom, there's your
and your poster.
And your poster, yeah. So no, that's kind of the first Spider-Man movie. I think it's fine. Like, honestly, like I think it's an easy enough watch. I think I was sick of it because I'd seen it too many times the last time I watched it, but with enough time since then, I thought it was a nice, enjoyable little movie.
I'd agree if it wasn't for the music. It really hampered my enjoyment for a lot of this film. Like, when I break it down, talk about it on a technical level, you know, we break it down and goes, there's all these things that I agree I do enjoy.
I think the actual direction's good. The film making is actually
it is, and that's the thing. I agree with all of these things when I'm thinking about it, but when I'm watching it and and I'm hearing it, I really struggle to enjoy it because I'm just assaulted by this noise that doesn't need to be there.
Honestly, I mean, I don't like the score. I think it's inappropriate for Spider-Man. I feel like, I mean, I do think the Amazing Spider-Man scores were little bit obtrusive as well, but they suited the character more than this one did. This one was.
But for me, it's not even that. I think it's just it doesn't suit the character. I don't think it suits the movie at all, and I think it actively works against a lot of what's on the screen.
Do you know what it does? It actually reinforces the mopiness of Peter when he's not. He's not really supposed to feel mopey all the time, but he does.
Yeah.
I mean, not that Peter can never feel mopey, but there's a very it's this very specific kind of mopey here. Like it's like it just feels like he's always like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it does have that cheesy vibe. So we do have this awkward thing where the lead roles are miscast if for a proper adaptation. They don't feel really like their characters. So as someone who wants the actual characters, it fails in that regard. But as an action movie, as you know, a sort of 90s, like it does feel like it, and this is not just because of Danny Elfman connection, right? But it does feel like it belongs with the Batman movies in the 90s and the stuff like that. It feels like the next step of that. We're not quite at modern superhero movies yet, but
because obviously this and you mentioned at the start, this and X-Men were kind of the start of what we think of now. Whereas X-Men, I would agree, kind of still feels like those modern movies. I don't know if you've watched them recently at all.
I think when we do the X-Men movies next year for Dark Phoenix, I think I'll argue on the first one, but we can leave that for then.
But I think for me, they kind of feel more in line with a modern movie, whereas this does feel more with those 90s batch.
Which is funny actually, because I actually think a lot of the X-Men movies have failed to progress with the rest of the superhero movies. I
won't argue on that. I feel like they made a leap forward, but then they kind of stagnated.
Yeah. I think it's a fun, but it does feel dated. It is a dated superhero movie.
So I tell you what moment felt really dated to me.
Go on.
You know when he shows up at the parade and he blows up the balcony, kind of starts collapsing. That bit that Mary Jane's on looks really weird, and where she's like gonna stand up, but it just stays there. Like it just stays still. But she never tries to move.
Yeah, it's a really sort of phony damsel in distress.
Yeah,
moment.
That was a moment for me where I was like, this is a dated movie.
Actually, Joe, it felt really dated and cheesy to me right after that. It's when Goblin throws that bomb thing that it basically does like a cheesy sci-fi effect to all the board members where they all turn into skeletons for a second and just disappear.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what the hell was that? That was like out of a cartoon.
That's the sort of thing I expect to see in Doctor Who.
Even modern Doctor Who, I wouldn't accept that.
No. Of more of its time.
Yeah. Yeah, if that showed up in a new episode of Doctor Who, I'd be like, what the hell were they thinking?
Yeah.
So that stuck out as being really weird. But like I said, I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's of its time. It does feel dated. I do think the action is pretty good though. I think the first half is better than the second half, mainly because the actual Goblin plot and why he wants to get Spider-Man and the actual pursuit of Spider-Man, I think that stuff suffers a bit. And then you have the Mary Jane mugging scene, which is just random and just happens.
Yeah, I think it's more coherent because obviously it still has random acts like the robber getting Uncle Ben. That is a random act.
Yeah,
but it feels like it has purpose.
Yeah, but here's the thing though: you're allowed to start your story with a coincidence.
Yeah. Exactly.
You start your story with a coincidence, but you never end with one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's how because you have a spark. That's the. I mean, arguably the inciting incident is him getting bit by the spider, but the incident that puts him on the path that he goes on is really Uncle Ben.
Yeah, and obviously the difference there is he makes the choice to step out of the guy's way and lets him go in the first place. Random what happens after that's out of his hands, but he made the choice there.
But
it
means something to his character. I mean, it gives him something to feel guilty over and drives him.
With the mugging scene, it just literally comes out of nowhere for no other purpose than to have Spider-Man rescue her.
Yeah, and she gets rescued a lot. She is very much a damsel to be rescued repeatedly.
She is.
She doesn't really have much more to her than that.
And that's kind of one of my biggest problems with the movie is her character. I don't understand why they all like her. It never gives me a reason. Like, tell me, other than what you know from comics, tell me why in this movie they like Mary Jane.
I do get it from Peter. I don't know why Harry's into her, but I do get it from Peter's point of view. It's the girl next door. I mean, admittedly, this is superficial stuff, but I at least understand that, like, girl next door.
Okay, I'll buy that to a degree, but he doesn't really know her. Is the point there?
Yeah, not until
he has a crush on the girl next door. I'd buy that, but it's when it gets to the next level stuff. I just don't get it. I don't understand. They never give me anything from her to tell me why people like her. They tell me that she's popular and that everyone likes her, but I don't understand why.
I don't think that bothered me specifically. And maybe this is just because I expect them to like her because she's Mary Jane.
That's the thing. That's the only reason I excuse it, is because, well, of course.
But this is the thing, though. To me, that's the part that's right, and then she's the part that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like they should all like her, but then her as Mary Jane is just kind of. And again, it may not be Kirsten Dunst's fault. It might be just in the writing. She's just not.
They should like her, but they should like her for a reason.
Yeah, she doesn't have the personality. Like I say, I don't think she necessarily had to have some, like, having her just say she's going off to, audition for acting. Like, she doesn't need a plot on her own per se, but she needs to have a personality that makes us want to see her.
A reason to care about her beyond just Peter likes her.
Oh yeah, because when she's like being threatened with death at the end, you don't really care because it's her. You just care because of what it means to Peter.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, but again, that's kind of a of its time thing. Like
it is.
I mean, obviously Lois Lane is a giant exception to this, because Lois Lane, there's a reason why she's such a great character. Like, she isn't just the damsel for Superman to save. She's the damsel who gets saved and then looks him in the eye and says, "What the hell? How are you doing this? Tell me now."
Yeah.
Like, she demands answers. Like,
so what the hell are you doing this for? I was fine.
Yeah. And she still falls in love with Superman, but Mary Jane with Spider-Man in this movie is really just like, she's just swept immediately, and there's no.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then Franco's arc is weird, and he's just suddenly like waving a gun around at the end, and he's like, "Oh, Spider-Man's going to pay for this." But thank God I've got you, Peter. You're the best friend and the only family I've got left.
This will never go badly, will it?
Oh, I can't wait till we get to 3 so I can watch the pie scene.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So it says a lot where we've been relatively negative on this movie.
We have been. I feel like watching it now, it's the negative stuff that sticks out. I actually think like I said, I think it's a decent enough movie. I think it's a solid enough watch. Like, there's a worse ways you can spend 2 hours. Yeah. But you're watching it now, you're used to superhero movies that pay a bit more attention to the source material. You're used to, better action. I mean, like I say, as much as I say I like the action in this, it does feel very old school. I think this is why I think Spider-Man 2 is seen as a benchmark.
It does something different.
Because as much as I said I like the action in this, but the action is good, but it's a good old style of action. The action in Spider-Man 2 is like, no, this is what a blockbuster now it does. This is the stuff in the train, the stuff going up the side of the building with Doc Ock. Like, we'll talk about that in the next one, obviously, but that stuff felt like big and new and exciting. So I think that's a big reason why it's 2. Plus, it also has a better villain. I think, as much as I prefer Dafoe as an actor, but
yeah, I can't argue with that.
But
that's the thing. He's a good actor, and he's doing the best with what he's got. But
yeah,
there's just not much there, is there?
But it does have that kind of cheesy 90s vibe to it.
It does.
Which I didn't think at the time, because at the time it felt like, oh, this is different from all those movies from the 90s. But now looking back on it, it does feel like it's part of that batch.
It does. It just has a bit more sheen to it.
Yeah.
But that was my point. If we've been relatively negative, obviously we didn't dislike this, but we were relatively negative. Oh, I can't wait till we get to 3.
3's a very interesting failure, actually. I'm looking forward to dissecting
it. Yeah.
Because there's a movie there that Sam Raimi wanted to make, and then there's a movie that the studio wanted him to make, and then we got this weird concoction.
And then there's the movie we actually got.
Yeah, and I think either movie would have been fine. Like I think the studio movie sounded like a fine idea. I think the movie he wanted to do wasn't as exciting, but at least from a character point of view was interesting. But then they smushed them together and we got that.
Yeah, we'll get there in a few weeks.
So no, that's yeah. Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man is a decent movie, but it was never amazing, and I do think it's aged a bit. I think it's a little bit dated, and I think I feel it when I'm watching it now.
Yes, definitely.
And I cannot emphasize it enough how shitty that Goblin outfit is. That stupid mask.
Yeah, it is awful. It is atrocious. There's no other word for it.
Yeah. So, and the plot's a little bit thin. Mainly Goblin, his motivations, and
that's something I do excuse though, because that's kind of again of its time. What I expect from the plot, of that time period.
Yeah, sure. All right, okay. I think that'll do. Wrap up. Get to ratings.
Yep.
What are you thinking?
Honestly, I want to give this a 6 because, like you say, it's mostly an enjoyable movie. But I'm gonna have to give it a 5 because I just can't. When I'm watching it, that music, I can't enjoy it. Even though when I'm talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed that stuff. That stuff's good when I think about it. But when I'm thinking about it in my head, the music's not playing. So, but when I'm watching it, it just annoys the hell out of me. So yeah. But
Okay.
I admit that is kind of harsh.
I'm going a fair bit higher than you. I think I'm hitting to a 7.
Okay.
I'm hitting to a 7 because I think it's good. It's a bit rough as an adaptation because the characters feel a bit miscast. Tobey Maguire is definitely miscast as Spider-Man. There's not a doubt in my head. Like he is inappropriate. But I think the movie's heart's oddly in the right place. Even if they've miscast a couple of things, even if there's some elements they get wrong, there's a genuine kind of like heart behind it, where it feels like they wanted to make something that had a bit of emotion to it. And they do a decent job. They do a decent job with Uncle Ben. They do a decent job with the action, and various other things and pieces. And I don't like the music.
I can't dispute that.
I don't think the score's good. I don't think it's inappropriate, but it doesn't. Like I kind of just ignore it when I'm watching
That's the thing. I wish I could.
So it doesn't like the moment when I was thinking, oh man, this is really Danny Elfman, was in the opening titles when I was basically paying attention to nothing but the music.
It was just the whole movie was just distracting me, and that's why I have to rate it lower because it should be enjoyable. It should be the intentions are good, like you say. There is emotion. They're trying. But that score just ruins it, and it stops me being able to enjoy this film for what it is.
Yeah, I feel like after what's felt like mostly negativity, I've not really justified the 7.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to go quite that high. I'll be honest. I was expecting you to be like a 6.5 at most.
I'm tempted to go to 6.5, but I also feel like it's well paced. Like as much as I think the Green Goblin stuff's rushed, the movie as a whole never feels like it drags. Like it feels like it's always moving. It's always introducing new ideas, sometimes to a fault, but and it's tight. It's exactly 2 hours, give or take some seconds. Which, how many superhero movies in the last couple of years have been 2 hours?
Probably none.
Yeah, they've all been like 2.5 to close to 3.
And sometimes you do feel that length.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes they've got this story to fill it.
Yeah. Sometimes you get like Logan, it's like, this needed time to pace and understand.
Yeah.
And other times you get BVS and you go, why is this so goddamn long?
And then they give you the extra long cut of BVS and you go, oh my god, no.
But all they did there was put the establishing shots back in.
I think they did a bit more than that.
Yeah, maybe.
Not that I'm willing to find out, but
yeah, I have not either. But at least they made it coherent from a editing point, not a plot point, or a character point.
Sure. And that's the thing. As much as I think Peter's a little bit off because he doesn't have the wisecracking. It's never like Batman or Superman and BVS where I'm like, oh no, this is an insult to the character.
Yeah. It's never. Oh, this is just wrong. It's just not quite there.
It's never he shot Uncle Ben in the head himself. Levels of betrayal.
Pretty much, yeah.
So definitely a bit flawed, definitely dated, but I do think it's a solid first effort, actually, especially in a time before we really hit this on the head.
Yeah.
So, no, that's for Spider-Man. So, let us know what you thought of it. I imagine some of you probably have a lot more fonder memories of it and probably hate us after all this negativity.
Yeah, but watch it again now and see if you're still as fond.
Yeah, I would recommend check it out again and see how you feel. Maybe nostalgia will carry you, maybe it will, I don't know. But no, that is us. So let us know what you think of Spider-Man in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Helps us out a lot if you do. You can also help us out, of course, being over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. Check out some of the bonuses we've got over there. Some of them are specifically movie related as well, and Flux related. There's a bonus episode coming up where the patrons voted for it. I think it's actually too late to vote for the current vote that's ending on the last day of the month. For patrons, because this goes up early in Patreon, you get these episodes a week early on Patreon. For the patrons who are already signed up and you're watching this on Patreon early, you still have time.
For anyone else, the next vote will be up by now, probably.
Possibly, yeah. We know what it's going to be. We're not announcing it yet. We'll announce it probably in the next episode, actually.
Yeah, probably next time.
Yeah.
But you can go if you sign up, you can see what it is.
Yeah. $1 is all it costs to get the episode early, and then the $5 tier is the one that's got the voting and some other stuff, and there's also some goals and whatnot. But check all that stuff out. Obviously, we're going to do Spider-Man 2 and 3. 2 will not be next. We're going to mix, we're going to alternate with other movies so that it's not just Spider-Man after Spider-Man for a few weeks.
Mainly because there are other blockbusters coming up that we need to do stuff for, like we're doing Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's a good point. The stuff we're doing in between them is actually movies for another thing coming out. But because we're getting to blockbuster season, and there's there's sequels or reboots of things that already exist. We've got a few things planned in advance for the next couple of months. But no. That's been us. So thank you once again for watching. We'll see you next time.